fishing news is brought to you by Navionics, Okuma, Yozuri, Evinrude, Lamaglass, and the Star Island Yacht Club in Montauk, New York.
Hey there, Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine with this week's web video fishing forecast for New England. Well, got a little something extra this week in addition to the regular fishing report talk. We had some big news going on this week. In case you weren't aware, the ASMFC, that's the Atlantic States Marine Fishery Council's Striped Bass Board, met on Tuesday. It's the annual their winter meeting. Meeting was supposed to go from about 11:15 a.m. to 3 p.m., but as anyone who has ever sat in on or either in person or on the webinars knows, it always takes much, much, much longer than planned, and this week was no exception. After getting a surprisingly early start, they kicked in 10:30, 10:45 range. I didn't sign off my computer until just before 6 p.m. on Tuesday night. Don't need to feel sorry for me, no problem. I enjoy sitting in on these and weeding through everything that goes on, even though much of the day was spent going back and forth on things like conservation equivalency, fairness, equity between states, uniform regulations, all some pretty valid discussion points. But in the end, unfortunately, for the most part, none of this was really fully achieved, if you want to put it that way. That said, some states did come away with regulations approved, others approved but not yet implemented, others had some stuff approved but some additional discussion required within the states. So there was a lot. Like I said, it went on, 7-8 hours, whatever. My mind's still a bit mushy at this point, but I hashed through it all, tried to simplify it, put it as simple and easy as I could determine in its most basic form. So I've got for you basically what was decided specifically relating to regulations. There are a few other things that were discussed throughout the day, which we can get to at a different time, but for right now, that really important pressing information is what regulations are in effect, what might be going into effect, and how that's going to affect you coming up in the weeks, months ahead as we start our 2020 striped bass season, if you haven't already done so, that is, if you've got a winter fishery. Just going to talk about these states from Maine through New Jersey at this time, as they're, that's primarily where the readership for the Fisherman magazine is, as well as YouTube subscribers mostly from that range. If you've got questions outside of that, feel free to hit me up, Lapinski@thefisherman.com. If you want to know what on the other states south of there, or if you want some clarification, of course, drop down below in the comments section, ask your questions as well, and I'll do my best to respond and answer to them. Of course, as always, though, it's a public forum. Keep the conversation appropriate, stick to the point. We don't need to bash anybody, inappropriate language and so on. Just keep it straightforward, ask some questions. I'd be more than happy to help. So here's what we got. The states that had a single option on the table, obviously that was approved. Some of the states already implemented it. I believe Maine and New Hampshire, we'll tell in just a moment. I'm pretty sure that they already put their regulations through. Other states, Connecticut, Massachusetts, for instance, have to still implement it. But nonetheless, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut have a slot limit for all anglers, whether you're private, shore, for hire, what have you. You're going for striped bass, you got a slot limit. Starts at 28 inches, goes up to, but does not include 35. So it's really 28 to 34.99999 inches. Once you hit that 35 inch, it's got to be released. Under 28 inches, it's got to be released. No matter condition of the fish, obviously do your best to ensure that the fish has the most, the best shot at survival, but we have a slot limit for those states. It was approved, just got to be implemented. Let's see. New York also has implemented their regulations. Same slot, 28 to just, up to 35 for the ocean as well as the Delaware River. But they have a slightly different regulation for the Hudson River. It's an 18 to less than 28 inch slot. So that's the same thing as the other guys, the 35, but this time it's 27.99999. You hit 28 inches, it's got to go back. Again, that's just the Hudson River. I believe the season for that was April 1 to November 30th. I think that the New York's ocean regulations begin May 1st. Just got to double check on that, and I can report back to you next week. And then let's see. States that have options were approved, but they had multiple options. So their single regulation has not been passed quite yet. That would be Rhode Island and New Jersey. So for New England subscribers, followers here, I'm going to start off with Rhode Island. They have three That's right, 3 different options that they could implement. They could go that 28 to 35 like the rest of the New England states has already approved, which would be 28 to just shy of 35. Or, and that's for all sectors, right? For all of the recreational anglers, private, shore, or for hire. They also have on the table 32 to less than 40, so that would go to 39,999,999, and that would be again for private, shore, and for hire. They've also got a split option on the table, which is 32 to 40, again for private anglers and the shorebound, but then a special regulation for the for hires, which starts at 30 and goes up to 40. So they get a little, they get 2 extra inches on the low end. Privates would be 32 to 40. For hires would be 30 to 40, give them a little bit wider range. Rhode Island's going to have to decide which one of those 3 options they want. I'm not sure off the top of my head when Rhode Island is going to decide on that. I'll have more in a moment as to implementation of all the plans. And then last up on the table is New Jersey, at least for our primary region here. They have 2 options. One is officially announced, and the other is to be determined, as you'll see. So first off, they got the 28 to 35, just like everybody else. However, they were also given opportunity to develop and present by the end of the business day this Friday. That would be, the 7th of February. A conservation equivalency proposal that includes a maximum length no greater than 40 inches, but it still meets the 18-inch reduction pending technical committee review. Again, that is by the end of business this week, this Friday, they have to submit that. So they would have basically 2 options on the table, if I'm not mistaken. There's a meeting next week. Check thefisherman.com for details on that when you guys are going to have your meeting down in New Jersey. So you'll be discussing, obviously, the 28-35, as well as this alternate option. Of course, also approved for New Jersey was the repurposing of the commercial allocation from the commercial anglers over to recreational. All those options were approved, so you also got to decide which way you guys are running your bonus tag. Along that subject, as I reported previously, Connecticut has ended its bonus program, so that is off the table. Now, as far as implementation, like I said, some of these are already approved and good to go. They just have to be drawn in. No matter what, whether you had something that was approved this week or not, it has to be approved, it has to be implemented by April 1st, beginning on April 1st. It's got to be in. Most of the states, I'm sure, are going to have it prior to then announced and out there to the public, but based on the October meeting that we had, that was when the board said you got to have everything in place. So regardless of when your season might open, for instance, New York's got some differing dates when they open, you got to have it on the books by April 1st. Okay, again, if you got any questions on any of that, feel free to drop a question down below. Shoot me an email, Lapinski@thefisherman.com. I sat in on the whole meeting on the webinar. I've got all the slides saved. That's the basis of what came of the regulations side, but feel free to check with me if you got any other specific questions. Before I jump into the reports, just want to remind you, though, I always forget to do this. Got to ask you to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring the bell to be notified. This is the fastest way that you get notification when we post up these new videos and things like this. This week, we've got these regulations pending. You want to get notice right away when it comes through, and that is your best way to get that information sent right over to you. So like the video once you've watched it, subscribe, tap the bell, and we will hit you as soon as those videos are uploaded. And as you know, we upload a lot of videos. We've got all 3 reports every week, plus a whole bunch of other videos coming through, so you want to stay on top of things. All right, on to the fishing, finally. Starting off this week with a video contribution from Dave Bocacz, as he was out ice fishing this week.
Thank you, Toby. Coming at you today from Buckley Dunn, out in Beckett, Mass, I believe, where I'm happy to report a good solid 10 inches of ice. The ice I've been on so far has been sketchy to say the least, and it's just been one of those warm years. Little word to the wise, if you're going to get out there, have your spikes, go with friends, don't forget your spud bar, and if it's dark, have a flashlight, have a headlamp on. I went through the ice a couple years ago, and that was unpleasant, and every one of those items was what I was lacking. I'm lucky to get out. But today, like I said, a good 10 solid inches. It's a Saturday, February 1st. The temperature's in the mid-30s. And we had a steady bite of teeny tiny micro perch, like 3-inch range. Not the best results for the day, you know. Be a lot happier with a 12, 14-inch perch, but we got a couple 8 inches on some flags, keeping those to eat, and sending the rest back home. A little bit of sunfish, you know, not the best day ice fishing, but considering the weather we've had and the lack of ice, I'm happy to be outside. It was only about the 4th time I've been out, and it's good to be out. Nice foggy, overcast weather. Good day to be out and about. If you're out there, people, been getting out, stay safe, and good luck, everybody. All right, back to you, Toby.
Thanks a lot, Dave. You know, you bring up some really, really good points, something I don't feel can be stressed enough, and that is safety when ice fishing. I saw your pics on your neck before you even started talking. I wanted to commend you for that. And then you went into discussion of all the safety items. You really almost can't have too much safety. As you said, you fell through the ice once before, didn't have anything on you. Fortunately, you survived it. I, too, when I was a bit younger, was out ice fishing, went through the ice. Lucky for me, it was only about knee deep because I didn't have the pick, I didn't have the spud bar, I didn't have the rope, I didn't have any of that. But what I will say that it did for me is it put a bit of fear into me. Every time when I'm out on the ice fishing, I respect the ice and respect really the danger that's there. I'm sure there's danger, you know, obviously there's danger any type of fishing, but there's a little bit more, in my opinion, when you are ice fishing. So I really got to thank you, commend you for reminding people about those safety items, because they are often overlooked, but they can be the difference between life or death on the ice. Continuing along with the ice, bringing it back up to a happier note, heard from Fisherman contributor Nick Kanaras this week. He was out poking around over the last week or so, and he's been finding some ice. In Connecticut, his home state, he's been finding it as expected, the northwest corner. Not great ice everywhere. He's finding between 3 and he said 7 inches of ice up there in some spots, but it is spotty, so you got to be really careful. Check with that spud bar as you go. And then he moved up a little bit north, went up to Massachusetts over the weekend, and did really, really well for the drive on panfish. Got into some nice crappie, got into some sunfish, did well, had a really good outing. So it goes to show you, if you want to get out there and hit the ice, there is fish to be had and there's ice to be found. You just got to put a little extra effort in, and of course keep that safety at the forefront. And then down along the coast where I am, like I said, there's no ice. I mean, we don't even have ice in the swamps around here and down the coast in Connecticut, but it doesn't mean there's nothing to do. We got people getting out fishing and taking advantage of the nice weather. Heard from Gene and Shawn from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook. They threw on the neoprene waders, grabbed a couple of rakes this weekend, and went out and scratched up a bunch of tasty hard shell clams. Now, if you've never had a winter clam, you are seriously missing out on an exceptional delicacy. Summer clams are good. Winter clams are even better. Just that cold water, whatever it is, they just taste better. So I say give it a shot. There's been a lot of positive clamming going on thanks to the decent weather we've had, the low tides. And of course, if you've got any questions, need any permits, what have you, check with the guys at Black Hall. Most of the shops along the shoreline here in Connecticut sell the permits. Up in Rhode Island, you can pick them up. That's where I usually go in the summertime. So definitely, if you're looking to do something, you don't want to get out and fish, you want to do something a little different, I highly recommend getting out and scratching up some wintertime clams. All right, well, there you have it. A lot going on regulation-wise. We got a bit of fishing going on, but as always, you do plan out to fish this weekend. Be sure to start off your trip by visiting thefisherman.com.